Alright, so fine. Let us start with the day 4 of the training. Okay, in the earlier class, I told you how to dynamically launch the browsers. Right. So let us start with day 4, and I will create a new Java project over here. Right, I call it day 4. Okay, and inside this project, I'm going to add all the jar files and all everything. Hold on, just a minute. Right. Okay. So now we will be talking about object identification once we have once we have opened the browser. Okay. After that, what do you need to? Okay. So I'll create a new class over here known as Rediff. Okay. Right. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Fine. Suppose I will open and I'll write the code, dynamic code, and I will take the website to http in.rediff.com. Okay, so I'm just giving you a small example. Okay, that how you can interact with the web page. Okay, right. So let the browser open first, and then I'll tell you. All right, fine. So out here, if you go to this link, sign in link, you will be able to log in into the website. Okay, right. Now how do I enter the username and the password on this page? Okay, this is an HTML page, right? To understand that, you have to understand the concept of HTML language. Okay, HTML language is, as most of you must be knowing, right? It's the language of the browser. You can go into the page source and you can check out the uh, page source for the page. Okay, this page source is actually the response to the server, which you can with which you get this kind of an output on the screen, that you get this text field and all everything. So this is HTML. In HTML you have got tags and attributes. Okay, for example, you have this input tag. This is the input tag. Whatever starts with a conical bracket is the tag name. After that you have attributes. You have attributes like type is an attribute, name is an attribute, value is an attribute. Okay, right. Out here division is one tag and this class is attribute for it. This division tag opens over here and closes over here. Between that, already three divisions are existing. Okay, so you can note down one thing, that HTML is nothing but a game of tags and attributes. Okay, on the web page as well, if I investigate the username text field, if I right click on the text field, go to the inspect option. Fine, this is the username text field. Okay, you will get this text field in the page source. Click on inspect. You will get the page source highlighted over here. You can inspect the objects this way in Chrome. How do you inspect in Firefox or I will talk about it, but in Chrome you can inspect like this. Okay, so this becomes an input tag whose type is text, ID is login1. Fine. Okay, max length is 30. So you have the tag name input for this text field, and you have got different attributes. With the help of these tags and attributes, we go and identify the objects on the web page. Okay. Similarly, if I look at this, say link, this is the link. Create a new account. A link will always have the tag name anchor A. Most of you must be knowing this. Okay. Anchor tag will represent a link and href is the attribute of that link. Okay, href attribute points towards the URL which will open when you click on the link. Okay, right. So every element on the web page has got certain tags and certain attributes. You can also click on this arrow over here, right, and move the mouse over the element. Say I move the mouse over the password element. Password element is input type password whose ID is password, name is PASSWD. Right. Now the thing is, if an element has got an ID attribute or a name attribute, then in Selenium it really becomes easy to identify the element with ID or name. Okay, if an element has got ID or name, then in Selenium it becomes really easy to identify the element. Okay, right. Out here, if I show you, hold on, if I look at the username field as well, this field has also got an ID. Okay, it's also got a name. So let's look at the easiest way to identify the objects first with ID or name. Right. Now, yeah, if I talk about Selenium, then everything in Selenium is a web element. In Selenium, this link is known as a web element. This text field is known as a web element. This button is known as a web element. Image is a web element. So everything in Selenium is a web element. Okay. If you look at the documentation of Selenium, if you go here, if I go to the documentation, if I look at the Java docs for Selenium, then out here, if you scroll down, you will see that, hold on, there is an interface. There is an interface out here known as web element. Okay, this is the interface web element. All right, which actually represents a generic HTML element. Okay, right. So this interface web element will represent a generic HTML element. Right. All the interesting operations to do with interacting with the page will be performed through this interface. Okay. If you look at the functions in this interface, these functions are the normal functions which you operate or which you fire on an element on the web page. For example, clear the value, click on an element, find element, okay, right, or get the location, get the size, get the text of the element. So these are the general operations which you fire on a web page. Okay, right, and these general operations fall under the category of the interface web element. So basically everything on a web page is known as a web element and that can be managed with this interface. Okay, right, now how do you identify the web element? Okay, to identify the web element, there are different strategies. These are known as locator strategies. Okay, for example, I'll show you. There is a class out here known as byclass. Byclass in Selenium holds the mechanisms used to locate the element within a document. Document means the HTML page. Okay, there are different mechanisms. You can identify the element with the ID. You can identify it with the name. These are the two easiest ways. If there is a link, you can identify it by the link text or the partial link text as well. Okay, but let us look at identifying with ID and name first, and then I will cover the other thing. Okay, right. So by class defines the mechanism function. Okay, all of them are static. You can directly access them with the name of the class. Okay, out here, after reaching this web page, say you have to write the value in the username field. Okay, right. So just a minute. Yeah. So what I will do is I will first of all change the URL out here. Okay. And then driver dot find element. By which criteria? By the ID you can write. Okay. Driver dot find element by the ID, and you can give the ID of this text field. The ID is login 1. Okay. Right. So this is how you write the command. Driver.find element function will go and find the element on the web page. By which criteria? You specify the criteria with the help of by class, by the ID, by the name, or whatever it is. Okay. There are different locator strategies in the by class: ID, CSS selector, link text, name, tag name, XPath. I'll talk about all of them. Okay. One by one, I'm going to talk about them. So this is simple. Driver.find element by the ID login1, and this will return you the reference of web element interface. Okay, username I'll call it. So driver.find element finds the element on the web page and returns you the web element representing that particular element on the page. Okay, right. And then what do you want to do with this username text field? For example, I want to print something inside it. I want to type something. I can write username dot send key hello. So when you run this code, see that it goes and types hello inside the text. Okay, right. Now you can also do anything else with this web element. There are various web element functions. For example, I want to get the x and y coordinate. So you can write username dot get. These are all the web element functions. For example, get location dot x will give you the x coordinate, and dot get location dot y will give you the y coordinate. Okay, right. So if I run this code, this will run like it ran previously. Get you the username, type something in the username field, and also print the x and y coordinates. Right. Similarly, you can extract the password as well. Okay. the password field. Fine. You look at the password. This is the one. The ID of this field is password. The name is PASSWD. Okay. The name is also there. So let us identify password with name. Okay. You can write out here the same command, driver dot find element by the name web element. Okay. So I'm using the criteria name over here, and then you can write password dot send key. Okay. Right. Password dot send keys pass1. So when you run this code, okay, so it types the password as well. Fine. Okay. So you can type in the username, the password, everything. All right. Fine. Send keys function is used to type into an element. All right. Now, one thing, guys, you don't have to go into the Java docs. If I have to go into the Java docs, I go like into this Selenium website, right? I don't need to do that. I can import the Java docs inside Eclipse. Okay. Click on the Java doc link over here. Okay, this link will open. You copy the link. Fine. Open Eclipse. Fine. Right click on day 4. Hold on. Go to the properties of this project. Okay. Go to Java build path and you will see the main Selenium jar file. Okay. This is the main Selenium jar file. Go to the Java doc location, edit the location, paste the path, paste this path over here and remove index.html from the end. Click on validate. It will say that location is likely valid. Then you are good. Okay, right. And click on OK, apply and close. That's it. All right. So now if I write driver dot, I will get various functions. If I click on any function, I will get the description of that function. Okay, right. So for example, find element will find the first web element using the given method. Right. If I click anywhere out here, suppose if I click on this link, then the documentation will open inside Eclipse. So you don't have to, go to the Selenium website and get the documentation. You can switch to the frames view. You click on this frames and you will have the documentation. All right, fine. So basically, driver.find element will go and find an element on the web page with the criteria which you have given out here. Suppose I want to click on the go button as well. This is the go button. Fine, I want to click on it. The name of this button is proceed. Okay, right. So I will write over here driver.file. Guys, please keep your microphones on mute. Guys, please keep your microphones on mute. You can move the mouse to the top and find it. Okay. So driver.find element by the name proceed I can write over here. So this will go and extract the go button. Fine. And this will represent the web element, go button, right? And hold on just a minute. Fine. What do you want to do with the go button? I can write go button dot click. You click on that button. Fine. Okay. So when you run this code, see that it clicks on the button and reaches on the same web page. Okay. It was very fast. Okay, it clicked on the button and reached the same web page. Right. Now one thing guys, to interact with one element, you are writing two lines of code. First extract the element and then you interact with the element. Okay, you first extract it and then you interact. Okay, right. So instead of doing this, you can write one line. Alright, I'm going to comment this whole thing and I'll show you. You can write driver.find element by the ID login1. So this will go and find the web element. Okay, on that web element, you can fire the send keys function. Okay, so the extraction starts from the left side, execution starts from the left side. First, the web element will be extracted. Then on that web element, function send keys will be fired. It will happen in one line. Similarly with the password as well, you can write driver.find element by the name password dot send key some password. And similarly for the button as well. So you can extract the web element and then on that web element fire the click function. So in one line you can write everything instead of writing so long. Alright, so if I run this, you will see that it was very fast, entered username password and then it clicked on the go button as well. Okay, right. So anybody with any questions? Anyone? Right. Before I move further on other identifiers like what if you don't have ID, what if you don't have name, there are few things which I want to discuss. Okay. Firstly, look, what if an element with this ID is not present? If I type X over here, okay, driver.find element by this ID, which is actually not present. If I run this code, if I run this code, you will get a screen like this is known as an exception. Exception says that it is a no such element except. That means element is not there. Whenever you get this, don't be afraid of this. Whenever you get an exception, don't get afraid. Read the exception. Okay. Out here it says no such element and read it. No such element, unable to locate the element with ID selector as login1x. It is saying that we are trying to find an element with ID. Okay, login1x. It's not able to find it. And it will also give you an exception trace. This is an exception. And exception is, in the end, you'll see that exception is coming on the line number 38 on rediff.java. If you click on this, line will be highlighted. Click on this rediff.java 38, line will be highlighted. You'll come to know that on this line 38 line, the error is coming up. The line number is also mentioned over here. Okay, right. So element is not found over here. Now, thing is, you have to understand what exceptions are in Java. I'm going a little off the topic towards Java because it's very important for you to understand the concept of exception handling. Because sometimes you don't want the program to just abruptly end in between. Okay, so I'll tell you, I'll create a new class known as exceptions in Java language. Suppose I am writing int I equals to 10. Okay, I write system.out.println a and I write system.out.println. Okay, and when I run this code, it prints A and B. Fine, of course. If I write 10 divided by 2, alright, and if I run this, it will again print A and B. Now, what if I write 10 by 0? Okay, if I write 10 divided by 0, then what's going to happen? If I run this, I will get an exception, arithmetic exception divided by 0 on line number 7 in exceptions Java. And the problem is only A is printed, B is not printed. Okay, only A is printed, B is not printed. Alright, so whatever line the exception comes up, the program will stop on that line. No, you don't want that. You want the program to continue. Okay, so you have the try block and the catch block for this. Whatever line or different lines you think that on these lines exception can come up, you can put a try block like this and a catch block in which you will catch the exception object. Okay, out here I'm going to type A1. If I run this code, you will see it never prints the error, it prints A1 and B. While executing the try block, if the exception comes up, fine. While executing the lines in the try block, if the exception comes up, then the control goes in the catch block. It kind of recovers, you can say. Okay, and it continues. However, if there is no exception, if I write 10 divided by 2, then the control will not go in the exception block, obviously. Okay, if you are reaching exception block, then that means something is wrong and you can report failure or something. Okay, so we are going to concentrate on this later on, but I am just telling you that instead of abruptly ending the program in between, we can use try catch to help us recover. Suppose in the try block I write over here z x, and below this line I write y. If I run this code, it will print AXXYB because there is no exception. I'll put a breakpoint and I'll show you line by line. I'll put a breakpoint on this line. Okay. I'll run it in the debug mode. Fine. Remember I had told you about debugging, debug mode. And the control will stop on this line. If I hit F6 of the keyboard, A will be printed, then X will be printed. I is divided by 2, this is fine. Then Y will be printed, and control will not enter the catch block because there is no exception, and it will come over here and print. Alright, fine. However, if I write 10 by 0, you will see that when I will run this, let it run normally, it will print the output A, X, A1 and B. A, X, A1. It comes in the catch block. After printing X, and while if it is executing this line, it comes in the catch block because there is an exception in this line. Y is not printed because exception comes on this line and then the control goes in the catch block. If I debug this, you will see that F6, F6X, and now if I hit F6, the control comes in the catch block, right? And when the control comes in the catch block, hold on, you get the object of exception. You can do anything. You can write over here system.out.println e.get message. So this will give you the exception message. If I run this code, it's printing divided by 0. Okay, this is the exception message. If you want to print the complete stack, you can also write e.print stack trace. So this will actually print the error. You want to print this error. Okay, right. So catch block is something where we don't want to come, but if you come, you should be knowing that fine, you have to report an error or a failure. So when you write these regular lines over here, you can put them in a try catch block. Okay, and you can print the kind of exception you get out here. So when you run this code, you see that it's running. See that this is the complete exception, no such element, unable to locate the element. This is the message you get. Okay, using id value is login 1x. You cannot find the element. Okay, right. So this was simple, extracting the elements and a little bit of exception handling as well. Right. But one thing guys, every time you cannot get an ID or name of the element. every element will not have an ID or a name. Okay, for example, if I take this image, suppose if I want to click on this image rediff.com. Okay, if I inspect this image, okay, this is the image, right? And if I want to click on this image tag has got no ID or no name. So how do you manage this? Or I want to read the text on the web page, say this text at the bottom, or I want to read the username text written over here. This username text has got no ID or no name. So every time you will not get ID or a name. It's not like that. Okay. So to manage this, you have to, you know, what do I say? You will have to use XPath. Okay. What is XPath? XPath, every element on a web page has a XPath. XPath is like an address. Okay. I'll show you. XPath is like the address of the element on web page. For example, you have an address. That address uniquely identifies you. Similarly, XPath is there. XPath is like the address of the element on the web page. You can calculate the XPath through the browser or you can calculate it yourself. Okay. But before that, one thing, I have actually used Chrome and identify the elements. You can use other browsers as well. You can use Mozilla. Fine. If I open Mozilla, just a minute. And if I go to any web page, say I open CNN, just 1 minute. Yeah, CNN.com. If I am going here, and if I right click out here also, you will get the inspect element option. Right, fine. And if I move the mouse, if I click over here, and if I move my mouse over, hold on, any element, just a minute. Not working. Yeah, it's working. If I move my mouse over any element, this will highlight the element as well. Okay. Look, guys, the page source remains the same across different browsers. Okay, the IDs, the names will remain the same. Only the browser will change. So you don't need to write a separate script for separate browsers. I can inspect the browser on Chrome and I can make this script run on Mozilla but just by changing the browser over here. Okay, don't think that on different browsers you will have to write different scripts. No. Okay, so you see that Mozilla will open and type in the username and password. Hold on. Yeah, you see that? And then it clicks on the go button as well. So It's not that the script, if you investigate the browser, suppose you investigate the Mozilla browser, then same script you can run on Chrome and IE as well, because the page source remains the same across different browsers. So you don't need, you can investigate on any web page, but same script will work on different web pages. Okay, anybody with any questions? Yes, you can tell the development team that please use IDs and names, but it is also not possible for them to use IDs and names for every combo. So there are other ways using XPaths or CSS selectors. No, developer can give a name or ID to any element. That's not a problem. But it's not possible that every element can be catered. Okay, so that is the thing. And yeah, you were asking me about setting the path, right, of the EXEs. Yeah, it happens. Like a website like CNN.com, the complete website changes in 24 hours. So giving ID to every element, some of them might be possible, not every. Okay. So it depends on the website. It depends on the website. Sometimes it might not be possible. Sometimes the layout is changing or something. It depends on the website. No, no, no. For every project you have to give it.